Gaura Bhakta. Jai Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So continuing with Sri Caitanya Charitamrta Adi Lila chapter 4 verse number 27 and 28. E Shuddha Bhaktalana Karimo Avatara Kariba Vividha Vidha Adbhuta Vihara Vaikuntadye Nahi Ye Ye Lila Rara Prachara Se Lila Kariba Yate Mora Chamatakara. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. Purport. Lord Krishna, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, educates his devotees to develop progressively to the stage of pure devotional service. Thus, he appears periodically as a devotee to take part in various wonderful activities depicted in his sublime philosophy and teachings. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and in all of them, the Lord accepts the service rendered by his eternal devotees in a reverential mood. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna presents his most confidential pastimes as he enjoys them in his transcendental realm. Such pastimes are so attractive that they attract even the Lord, and thus he relishes them in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Translation again. Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So from this verse we can see how compassionate Lord Krishna, he is doing all this so that we can get attracted to him. He comes with his pure devotees just for his pastimes. And here it's clearly mentioned that these pastimes are not in Vaikuntha. We already learned from previous verses wherein Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining, where Krishna is also explaining, that in Vaikuntha is only worship in awe and reverence. There is no playful mood. There, no one will, try to play with the ball with Lord Narayana, or, jump on his shoulder, or, play different games. No, nothing at all. There, everyone is in the mood of awe and reverence. So here Krishna is saying that all these pastimes are possible only in Krishna Loka, and he himself is amazed by his own pastimes. If you all remember, one of the childhood pastimes of Krishna, one day he was passing by, he was walking, and he saw his reflection, right? And he was like, who is that beautiful child? It's so attractive. He's attracted by his own, yes, by himself also. So here it is said that Krishna is amazed by his own pastimes. And what is the purpose of this? So this chapter is entitled, the reasons. And purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance was to relish these pastimes, relish Radharani's love for him, and also to give holy name to fallen souls like us. He came to show us how to become a devotee. He himself came like a devotee to show us how to be a devotee and show us the process for pure devotional service. And it all starts with, what do you think it starts with? Attentive chanting. Not just chanting, but attentive chanting. I was hearing one of snippets of Guru Maharaj, and there he said the first step is attentive chanting. If we are not chanting attentively, then we should make an effort, make a sincere effort to somehow or the other chant our rounds attentively. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in Kali Yuga on this earthly planet was just to save fallen souls like us. And Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, and of course also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can see also in Chaitanya Caritamrta, where the references are given about the teachings of Krishna. And so the teachings of Krishna and the pastimes of Krishna, they are there to help us. In this verse, today's verse, it says in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, progressively, to develop progressively to the stage of pure devotional service. So we need to progress. If we are on a plateau, then it becomes difficult for us to sustain Krishna consciousness. I remember hearing one time devotee was saying, it is easy to come to Krishna consciousness, but to sustain it is very difficult, because in the beginning we are all enthusiastic and we are like full force, yes, chanting, prasadam, dancing, festival, and then gradually that enthusiasm starts going away. So here Prabhupada is saying Lord Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya educates his devotees to develop progressively to the stage of pure devotional service. And the attraction for Krishna will only happen when we continue to progress on this spiritual path. If we get somehow the other get attracted to Krishna, then we'll get attached to him. And Prabhupada has said that these pastimes of Krishna, they are like a window to the spiritual world. When you look out from the window, what do you see? You see something nice, right? So like the scenery or the greenery or whatever it may be, or if we are at the beach, we see from the hotel room, the window, we see the view. So these pastimes are like the windows to the spiritual world. So that's how important these pastimes are. We have already heard about Vaikuntha planets. We've already heard about Krishna Loka also. But the difference is that in Krishna Loka, the devotees who reach Krishna Loka, they engage in service to Krishna. They also engage in pastimes, in his pastimes. They take part in his pastimes, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to enjoy those pastimes, because Radharani, the relish she gets from Krishna's pastimes or serving him or being with him, that is what Krishna wants to experience. So as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has come, and also besides coming in the mood of Radharani, he's also come to teach us Krishna consciousness. The process is very simple, it's very sublime. And Srila Prabhupada has made it easier for us, right? During the time of 6 Goswamis, they used to chant all the time. Innumerable rounds. They would just sleep for 2 hours or something and they would be chanting all the time. So when Srila Prabhupada came, what did he say? You chant 64 rounds. That was not practical for the devotees at that time. So Srila Prabhupada, he made it more simple. He said minimum 16 rounds. But minimum 16 rounds doesn't mean that once we have finished 16 rounds, then we keep the bead bag aside and then go about our daily business. We should still continue to chant whenever we get the opportunity. So in fact, our complete spiritual practice depends on attentive chanting. Just like they say that if in a math problem, right? If the beginning is wrong, when you start solving the problem, if there is the answer is incorrect in the beginning, right? Say supposing we put 2 plus 2 equal 5 and then we continue with that problem, is it going to solve? No, it's not going to solve. It'll remain wrong because the beginning was incorrect. So if attentive chanting is not there, if chanting is just like that, just to get rid of those rounds for the day or whatever, then the spiritual progress is very, very slow. I'm not saying it's going to be wrong. Chanting is good. It gives us a benefit. But if it is attentive chanting, then the progress is really fast. So everything will fall in place as long as the chanting is attentive. See, we are very fortunate that we are exposed to a relishable process. I don't think anyone who chants cries, oh, it's so painful. Does anyone cry? Oh, my head is hurting, or my ears are hurting, or my legs are hurting. No, it doesn't give any problems. Chanting doesn't, of course, sometimes someone says, my mouth becomes dry or something because chanting, chanting, but there is no pain. There is no suffering. So it is, and the more we will chant, Prabhupada says, then the jaundice-like disease that we have is going to go away. And then we will relish the sweetness of the holy name. So Guru Maharaj also says, if we are not relishing chanting, that means we are still huh?
Still there,
Yeah, but what state is it? Diseased. We are still in disease. We still have jaundice. We are not tasting. We are not relishing the holy name. It is not tasting sweet for us because of. We still get the benefit. Yes, we still get the benefit. Yeah. But then benefit is not as much as it would be if it was attentive chanting. And here today we heard from Srila Prabhupada that we can go to the stage of pure devotional service if we are serious in Krishna consciousness. See, Srila Prabhupada has given us such a relishable process. He has given us festivals, prasadam, devotees, temples, holy name, what else? Seva, his books, so many things he has given us. It's not a dry process, Yeah. Just like if someone gives you a sukha roti, to eat. That's too dry. How to eat that? No, it has to be fulka with ghee on it, ghee flowing through the fulka. Then that is relishable. So here, Srila Prabhupada has given us a relishable process. All we have to do is take it seriously. Let's go to the next verse, number 29. Excuse me. My computer is still loading, so I don't have the verse. Would anyone like to recite the verse number 29? Yes.
The influence of Yoga Maya will inspire the Gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. Yoga Maya is the name of the internal potencies that make the Lord forget himself and become an object of love for his pure devotee in different transcendental levels. This Yoga Maya potencies create a spiritual sentiment in the mind of the damsels of Vraja by which they think of the Lord Krishna as their paramour. This sentiment is never to be compared to the mundane illicit sexual love. It has nothing to do with the sexual philosophy, although the pure love of such devotees seems to be sexual. One should know for certain that nothing can exist in this cosmic manifestation that has no real counterpart in the spiritual field. All the material manifestations are emanations of the transcendence. The erotic principle of the amorous love reflected in the mixed material values are perverted reflections of the reality of the spirit. But one cannot understand the reality unless one is sufficiently educated in the spiritual science.
So you see, the influence of Yoga Maya will inspire the Gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. Yoga Maya, which is the internal potency of Krishna, she helps Krishna and the Gopis in their pastimes. And because she is Krishna's energy, there is Madhurya Ras between Gopis and Krishna. So Vrajavasis, they do not think that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. If they thought that way, then what will happen? They would start doing his arti, they would start worshipping him, washing his lotus feet, and then there will be no, relishable pastime between them. So it is this Yoga Maya that helps. And if the Brajavasis or the Gopis, if they realize this is God, then what will happen? They will start going in the mood of awe and reverence like in Vaikuntha, but that is not the case. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the difference between mundane love and spiritual love. Now, in this material world, if someone, you say the spouse tells, one tells the spouse, I love you. Prabhupada says, what does that mean? Does anyone remember? It means I lust you. That is not love. That is material. It's a reflection of the spiritual world. In spiritual world, there is true love. There is pure love. But mundane love, Prabhupada is explaining, is nothing but on the sexual platform. Whereas the spiritual love is completely transcendental. There is no sex desire. So when the gopis are attracted towards Krishna, their only focus is to please Krishna. But in material world, the focus is exploitation. That, okay, you do this for me, I do this for you. If you do this for me, then I love you. If you don't, then go your way, I go my way. Right? Srila Prabhupada has explained this many times in his purport. So pure devotees, they are only interested in giving satisfaction to Krishna like the gopis. They are not interested in their own satisfaction. Like, the famous saying is, what's in it for me? WIIFM, what's in it for me? So even when making friends, the question arises, what am I going to get from this? What is the benefit of being friends of so and so? But in the spiritual world, that consciousness is not there at all, because they are not on the bodily platform. So here Prabhupada is saying the pure love between Brajavasis, the Gopis, and Krishna, that is completely pure, and it is a spiritual sentiment. So we should not, in fact, we don't talk much about the relation of Gopis and Krishna, or Radharani and Krishna, because that's a very high level. Our consciousness is not so pure to be able to understand these pastimes of Gopis and Krishna. But here we can see that it is Yoga Maya. The influence of Yoga Maya will inspire the Gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour, that they think Krishna is their lover. That is the consciousness. Let's see the next verse, number 30. Amiha na janitaha na jani gopi gana dunahara rupa gune dunhara nitya hare mana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this, for our minds will always be entranced by one another's beauty and qualities. Purport. In the spiritual sky, the Vaikuntha planets are predominated by Narayan. His devotees have the same features he does, and the exchange of devotion there is on the platform of reverence. But above all these Vaikuntha planets is Goloka or Krishna Loka, where the original personality of Godhead, Krishna, fully manifests his pleasure potency in free loving affairs. Since the devotees in the material world know almost nothing about these affairs, the Lord desires to show these affairs to them. In Goloka Vrindavan, there is an exchange of love known as Parakiya Ras. It is something like the attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. In the material world, this sort of relationship is most abominable because it is a perverted reflection of the Parakiya Ras in the spiritual world, where it is the highest kind of loving affair. Such feelings between the devotee and the Lord are presented by the influence of Yoga Maya. The Bhagavad Gita states that devotees of the highest grade are under the care of Deva Maya or Yoga Maya. Mahatmanas tumam partha devam prakritim ashritaha. Those who are actually great souls or Mahatmas are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, always engaged in the service of the Lord. They are under the care of Devi Prakriti or Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya creates a situation in which the devotee is prepared to transgress all regulative principles simply to love Krishna. A devotee naturally does not like to transgress the laws of reverence for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by the influence of Yogamaya, he is prepared to do anything to love the Supreme Lord better. Those under the spell of the material energy cannot at all appreciate the activities of Yogamaya, for a conditioned soul can hardly understand the pure reciprocation between the Lord and his devotee. But by executing devotional service under the regulative principles, one can become very highly elevated and then begin to appreciate the dealings of pure love under the management of Yoga Maya. In the spiritual loving sentiment induced by the Yoga Maya potency, both Lord Shri Krishna and the damsels of Vraja forget themselves in spiritual rapture. By the influence of such forgetfulness, the attractive beauty of the gopis plays a prominent part in the transcendental satisfaction of the Lord, who has nothing to do with mundane sex. Because spiritual love of Godhead is above everything mundane, the gopis superficially seem to transgress the codes of mundane morality. This perpetually puzzles mundane moralists. Therefore, Yogamaya acts to cover the Lord and his pastimes from the eyes of mundaners, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says that he reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. The acts of Yoga Maya make it possible for the Lord and the gopis in loving ecstasy to sometimes meet and sometimes separate. These transcendental loving affairs of the Lord are unimaginable to empiricists involved in the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Therefore, the Lord himself appears before the mundaners to bestow upon them the highest form of spiritual realization and also personally relish its essence. The Lord is so merciful that he himself descends to take the fallen souls back home to the kingdom of Godhead, where the erotic principles of Godhead are eternally relished in their real form, distinct from the perverted sexual love so much adored and indulged in by the fallen souls in their diseased condition. The reason the Lord displays the Rasa Lila is essentially to induce all the fallen souls to give up their diseased morality and religiosity and to attract them to the kingdom of God to enjoy the reality. A person who actually understands what the Rasa Lila is will certainly hate to indulge in mundane sex life. For the realized soul, hearing the Lord's Rasa Leela through the proper channel will result in complete abstinence from material sexual pleasure. What an elaborate purport by Srila Prabhupada. Why do you think he has given such an elaborate purport for this verse? So that no one misunderstands, so that we have very clear understanding. And here, Yogamaya helps the sincere devotees. And towards the end, Srila Prabhupada is saying that for the realized soul, hearing the Lord's Rasa Leela through proper channel, that is very important. We must hear through the parampara, through the strict disciplic succession, just like Srila Prabhupada in strict disciplic succession is giving us such a clear understanding of this verse. Had there been no purport, would we have really understood what Krishna is trying to say? No, it would have been very, very difficult. So here we can see there is talk about pure, spontaneous love for Krishna, which is unadulterated. Unfortunately, in this material world, the love for Krishna is adulterated. How there is some jnana, there's some karma, there's so much mixture is there. But here, as we can see, Krishna and the gopis, because of their pure, spontaneous love for each other, they are attracted to each other. They are enchanted by each other. That is what this verse is saying. Why? Because their only focus is each other. Gopis' only focus is Krishna. Krishna's focus is the gopis. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says As one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. So here, Gopi surrender is complete. And so Krishna is reciprocating with the gopis, because gopis, we have heard in Krishna book also in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, where the gopis, they did not care for anything. As soon as Krishna would start playing on his flute, they would leave everything and just would get attracted towards Krishna. That is pure spontaneous love. So here we can see that gopis' only goal is to please Krishna, only goal is to satisfy Krishna. If you remember that pastime where Krishna said, I have a headache, and the only way the headache can be cured, if I can get the dust of the feet of my devotees. No one wanted to give. They said, we'll go to hell. If we take the dust from our feet and that goes on Krishna's head, we will go to hell. But who was the one who said, it doesn't matter, we can go to hell, but yes, it doesn't matter, we go to hell, but Krishna's headache must be cured. That is pure love for Krishna. That is, selfless love. That reminds me of a story. I'm not sure, probably I've already told many, maybe months, some years ago, but it fits very well here. So there was a husband who was really ill. And so the wife took the husband to the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed, asked afterward. First, he talked to the husband alone and, found out everything what's going on. And then he asked the wife to come in. The husband was waiting outside. So you remember? You can relate to that?
The thing is, I think medicine has to take by that.
No. No. I thought you said I can relate to this. I'm like, what? No, that is a different story. So when the wife went to see the doctor said his condition is pretty serious. So if you want to save his life, then there are some things I will tell you to do to improve his health. And then he will be able to live for a long time. So she said, yes, I'll do anything. So she wrote down on a piece of paper. He said, never get angry at him. Point number 1. Point number 2, don't make him do household chores. Number 3, like that, he went on and on and on. She said, oh yeah, I got it. So when she came out, the husband said, so what did the doctor say? Am I going to die? She said, honey, you are going to die. Because those conditions were not, they were not suitable for her. She said, how can I not shout at him? How can I not make him do work? I mean, my life will be completely disastrous. So she comes out and she says, honey, you're going to die. You see? So this is the mentality in the material world. But for spiritual world, for the pure devotees, nothing matters. It doesn't matter if they have to go to hell, but they will make sure that Krishna is comfortable, that he is not uncomfortable at all. So Srila Prabhupada has explained in the purport again the difference between Vaikuntha and Krishna Loka. In Vaikuntha, the devotees have same features as Narayan. Imagine to go to Vaikuntha. Of course, it's a place where there's no anxiety. One does not come back into this material world because it's a spiritual world. But the mood is awe and reverence. You just worship. Even though you have same features like Narayan, the mood is totally different. And they will not ever think of playing with Narayan. They would not have the guts to do that, because there the mood is only worshipping Lord Narayana and only worship in seriousness. So that is what their devotion is towards the Lord. But Prabhupada says that in Krishna Loka, it is totally different. Here in purport, Srila Prabhupada says there's free loving affairs. They are all on that spiritual platform, that pure consciousness, where there is pure spontaneous love, where there is not even a tinge of materialism, not even a tinge. Prabhupada says, even if one has a tinge of material desire, they are not qualified to go to Krishna Loka. Even a tinge, it may be just a little teeny weeny desire. One is not eligible to go back to Godhead. So here in Prabhupada says that the devotees do not think Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but think to him to be their paramour, the lover. And this is possible by the influence of Yoga Maya. Of course, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that in the material world, if a man is attracted to someone else's wife or another woman, that's condemned. But that is not so in Krishna Loka, because there they are all above bodily concept of life. They are all pure. They are pure souls. They have qualified themselves to be in Krishna Loka. And the pure devotees are always under the influence of Yoga Maya, and the others are under the influence of Mahamaya. That is the difference. So here we can see that these Brajavasis, they are so absorbed in Krishna consciousness. In fact, Prabhupada says they are fully Krishna conscious. And that is also one of the requirements of going back to Godhead, that one has to be fully Krishna conscious, and their only goal should be that I am going to go wherever I go, I will only serve Krishna and not my senses. So Yoga Maya, she helps such devotees to love Krishna. And then with the help of Yoga Maya, the love increases more and more. The more desire is there to love Krishna, the more the desire is to serve Krishna, the love for Krishna also starts increasing more and more. And then such devotees, they are prepared to love Krishna more and more. But those who are under the influence of Mahamaya in this material world, they cannot understand this and they cannot appreciate this. They cannot appreciate the relationship between Krishna and the Vrajavasis, between Krishna and the Gopis. They cannot. But here, Srila Prabhupada, in his books, in his purports, is in a very simple form, no fancy words, no jugglery of words or anything. In a very simple way, he's giving us a simple process. Chant and be happy. Just chant. If we chant attentively, then what will happen? Everything else will fall in place. Then we will strictly follow the rules and regulations. Then we will have the seva attitude that I want to serve devotees, I want to serve in the temple. Then everything else will fall in place. The mind will start coming under control. Senses start becoming controlled. Everything, Prabhupada says, will fall in place. So we can definitely purify ourselves and attain pure love for Krishna. When Yoga Maya sees our sincere endeavors, she will be ready to help such a devotee. But the first step comes from the devotee. And the desire should be very sincere and deep. It should not be superficial, right on top. It has to be really deep, which means one is, after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, after hearing Bhagavad Gita and Caitanya Caritamrta, after hearing so many lectures, that desire should start fructifying and saying, yes, this is the path, this is my goal, and this is how I will achieve it. So when Krishna is with the gopis, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that both of them forget everything. They are so much engrossed in that pastime with each other that they forget. They're so attracted and enchanted by each other. And this forgetfulness makes the gopis more attractive. Now they are already attractive. They're most beautiful women. But still they appear to be more attractive only because they have forgotten. They have come to that consciousness. What a beautiful, these series of verses that is explaining to us the relationship between the gopis and the Supreme Lord. And of course, when Krishna also sees the gopis, they appear to be more attractive to him, even though he's most attractive. What's the meaning of Krishna? the most attractive. Yes, so this is spiritual love. It has nothing to do with the mundane love that we find over here in the material world, because uh, and here Prabhupada also says that this kind of love is not exposed to mundaners, those who have no faith in Krishna, those who do not believe in the scriptures. They, for them, this knowledge is not exposed. They don't get an opportunity. Of course, many who get opportunity do not take advantage of it, and then they let that opportunity go, and then what happens? They fall back into this pool of material world. So Srila Prabhupada has explained to us, that this is a very high level of transcendental pastime. And when a devotee reaches a certain level of spirituality, when a person is significantly purified, not just little purified, but significantly, only then it will be possible for them to understand these pastimes. Otherwise, it is very difficult to understand. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also talks about why does Krishna come down to the earthly planet? Only because he wants to take us back home, back to Godhead, our real home, where there is permanent happiness. We've already heard in Bhagavad Gita, there is, permanent peace, permanent happiness, and there is no disease, there is no Maya, there's no influence of Maya. So all these scriptures which are there, and especially Srila Prabhupada's purports in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrta, they help us to understand, just like GPS, it explains to us where we are and where we are going, how to reach that destination, correct? In GPS, we put the address. So first of all, GPS has to know where we are. So also we need to know where are we, what is our position now, and then from the scriptures take the guidance to reach our destination. The scriptures show us how to reach our goal, how to reach our destination, and how to remove this disease of Maya. So hearing about Krishna's pastimes, can help us to get purified and get love for Krishna. Now, this Krishna consciousness is not rocket science. Is it rocket science? What's the meaning of rocket science? Very difficult to understand, right? But these scriptures with Srila Prabhupada's purpose is not rocket science at all. It's very, very simple. All we need to have that faith. We continue to chant and read and associate with devotees. We, do seva. And when we do all that with enthusiasm, then we reach our goal. Excuse me. So it's not rocket science at all. So we are going to conclude here at verse number 30 today. Excuse me. And we will see if anyone has any questions.